will be profiling companies of the region again.
Pretty dramatic picture we're looking at right now. Fire in one of the World Trade Center towers in New York City. We don't know the cause of this fire or exactly where it's coming from, but it appears there has been an explosion. As I look at another picture right now on one of the television monitors from ABC TV, and it shows a huge hole in one side of a World Trade Center tower in lower Manhattan in New York City. Smoke, thick, dark smoke now billowing from the top of the building. Smoke, a darker kind of smoke is coming from this large hole. When I tell you it's a large hole, we're talking about 10, maybe 12 stories worth of a hole in the side of the World Trade Center. A terrible situation there this morning. Obviously, something has terribly gone wrong. We believe that we do have some information coming in here we can bring to you. Can we bring up that?
Yes, I think special report. I'm Dan Raviv. An airplane has hit the World Trade Center in New York City. There aren't many details at this time, but the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers, you'll recall, are about 110 stories tall. It appears that an airplane has hit the building somewhere around the 85th floor. There's a lot of smoke coming out of one of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. This is in what's called the lower part of Manhattan, the southern part of the island of Manhattan. You can't see any part of the airplane at all. There's a fire inside the building, that's clear. A lot of smoke coming out, and a very large hole. Perhaps as many as 5, maybe even 10 or 12 stories of the building are clearly affected. On one side, there's a large gaping hole, and there's smoke coming out. There's flame inside. And also on the adjoining side of the building, a lot of smoke. Let's hear live coverage now from CBS radio station WCBS New York.
Billowing out of the I would say it's about 15 stories down from the top of the number 2, I believe it is, World Trade Center. Flames are coming out also. This apparently was a commuter plane that smashed into it with such force that the windows of the Pick a Bagel, in which I was just about to buy a bagel, smashed with a big bang. Everybody was very frightened, and it sounded like a fabulous explosion. And indeed, there is great devastation up there.
What happened to the commuter plane? It looks from what we're seeing that it might have actually gone through one side and out the other.
I can't see the south side of the building, but it could well have been. It hit with such force that the whole neighborhood really shook.
Well, Tom Kaminsky may have a better view for us, David. He's in Chopper 880. What are you seeing now, Tom?
I think we can sort of confirm that at least to some degree. We are now looking at flames shooting out of the north side of number 1 World Trade Center, but there are at least some windows blown out and smoke billowing out of the opposite side. We have not been able to get to the south side of the building yet. We're sort of staying right here. We have a very good vantage point, so we're staying here for the time being. However, there is smoke billowing out of both sides, really of all 4 sides, it would appear, of World Trade Center Tower number 1. And as we've been saying, this is anywhere between 10 and 15 stories down from the top. Now, as you look at the World Trade Center, this is the building with the antenna on top of it. So there is quite a bit of flame now coming out of the north face of that building, and only smoke. I don't see any flame coming out of the other approaches, but I talked to our pilot, Arthur Anderson, and he says he did see something go into that building. We were at the George Washington Bridge and beginning to make our way south. I looked up and saw a fireball, but Arthur Anderson, my pilot, says that he certainly did see something right at that building, about 10 to 15 stories up.
Tom, stay with us for a minute, will you? We want to talk to WCBS producer Kelly Edwards on the ground. Of course, you can see the fire. Where are you?
I'm just about 15 blocks north of the World Trade Center right now on 7th Avenue. Fire trucks are screaming down 7th Avenue trying to get to the fire. It looks like the fire is about 10 stories from the top of the building. Flames are shooting out smoke is pouring out. This gash goes from one side of the building practically all the way to the other. You can see thick black smoke pouring out of the front of the building, the north side. I can also see it coming out of the west side, and it's certainly coming off the entire top of the building right now. It's completely covered with smoke. You can barely see the top of the building. You can see flames shooting out of the east side of that gash. The gash seems to be getting bigger. I can now see flames coming out of the east and the west side of the gash. It seems like the windows are breaking as the fire moves down the building.
Well, we had heard earlier from one of the witnesses, M. David Levin, told us that the ground floor windows had been shaking, Kelly. Now, everybody we've been speaking with seems to have a vantage point of one side of the World Trade Center. We can tell you that at least two facades of the building
We're listening to live coverage from a New York radio station, WCBS, right now, of an apparent plane crashing into one of the World Trade Center towers, the North Tower this morning, where smoke is continuing to billow out. Thick black smoke. We'll continue listening to their coverage live in New York City.
With WCBS 880, because we are right on top of this for you with reporters on the way to the scene. Tom Kaminsky is overhead giving us the bird's eye view, and in fact was the first to tell us about it and see it.
Tom's been hovering around. Let's go to him right now up in Shopper 880. Tom.
All right, Jeff, back here with you. And we're trying to gather some information as to what type of plane this might have been into this area. I can tell you, as we are looking here at the north side, the north face of Tower Number 1, the gash that is in the building runs from about 10 stories up to about 15 stories, going from right to left, sloping to the left diagonally. Smoke is pouring out of that face, and now we have quite a bit of smoke and flame pouring out of the eastern side of Tower Number 1, and that also about 10 to 15 stories up. So it is our guess that whenever went into Tower Number 1 went into it and stayed there. We have not seen any evidence of any other fire on the south side of the World Trade Center. Tower Number 2, at least from our vantage point, appears to be unaffected. This appears to be entirely in Tower Number 1. But the impact point is almost certainly on the north side of Tower Number 1, about 15 stories up. We're just getting a look at the street. The traffic on West Street at this point is just beginning to come to a stop. That hasn't really happened yet. We are seeing some police and emergency crews beginning to make their way down West Street. Certainly this area is going to be not the place to be. I would want to say from about the area of Canal Street on down, at the very least, you really need to try and avoid driving in this area. And at this point, Jeff, that is all we have. We are still looking at smoke billowing out of Tower Number 1.
All right, Tom Kaminsky will come back to us, and we have reporters Peter Haskell, Mary Gay Taylor on the way to the scene. Our producer Kelly Edwards on the ground, not far, has given us a good view from the ground, and Tom Kaminsky will continue to give us a bird's eye view, and that's why you want to stay with us on WCBS 880.
This is the WTOP Radio Network. WTOP Washington. WTOP FM Warrenton. WXTR Frederick. Worldwide on WTOPnews.com.
Good morning, I'm Richard Day. And I'm Mike Boss. Coming up on WTOP Radio.
As you've been hearing, a small plane crashes into one of the World Trade Center towers in New York. More on this as flames shoot out from that skyscraper.
In comparison, now seems small grapes. Michael Jordan's talk of a comeback gets very serious.
Can the Air Jordan legend live up to expectations? I'm Amy Morris.
Iraq is claiming another shoot down, and the Pentagon confirms it has lost contact with another drone.
Move over, George and Martha. The caissons are rolling in. I'm Marianne Jennings.
Have you ever wondered the effect working weird hours has on your body? Now we know.
It is Tuesday morning, WTOP News Time, 9 o'clock.
CBS News, I'm Nick Young. A disaster in downtown New York City. A plane has crashed into one of the two World Trade Center towers. This man witnessed the aftermath.
I see a gaping hole at the top of the World Trade Center, almost to the top, not quite up there. I wasn't looking at it as I was driving towards it. I just heard a huge explosion.
WCBS radio helicopter traffic pilot Tom Kaminsky has more.
We are now looking at flames shooting out of the north side of Number 1 World Trade Center, but there are at least some windows blown out and smoke billowing out of the opposite side.
One report quotes an eyewitness who says it was a twin-engine plane. It is unclear how many people were in the area of the crash or how many injuries there may be.
I think he'll still be the best player in the league, no question about it.
A Washington Wizards fan on the growing prospect that his heiress, Michael Jordan, is poised to make a comeback. Jordan has told reporters he will return for the love of the game, though the announcement has not yet been made official. Chicago columnist Bob Green, who knows Jordan well and has written about him,